Hello and welcome to another brand new episode of the Pangolin Podcast. I'm your host, Toby Jermyn. Thank you very much for joining me. In each episode, I've invited a professional wildlife photographer to imagine themselves in a remote location, and along with their camera gear, they're allowed to bring 5 photographs to hang on the wall of their humble dwelling. Now, 4 of these must be their own, and the final image is one they admire by another photographer. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see the images as we talk, but for audio listeners on other platforms, there is a link in the description to a gallery. On today's show.
With deer, the biggest thing is you have to hide your smell. They are irritating in that they can smell you. They're also irritating in the fact that if they smell you, they tell everyone else that you're there, and everyone else is on alert, and you might as well just go home and have a sausage sandwich.
My guest today is a British wildlife photographer, tour leader and conservationist whose images, books and broadcasts have inspired a global audience to care more deeply about the natural world. For more than 25 years, he's made a full-time career out of photographing wild animals on their own terms, combining serious fieldcraft and ethical practice with a very down-to-earth, often humorous way of telling stories from the field. He has won multiple international awards, published over a dozen books, and built a worldwide following through his images, magazine columns, live shows, and online community, whilst also running expeditions to take clients on photo safari adventures around the world. Welcome to the show, Mr. Andy Rouse.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you very much. And how are you?
And my first question to you is, who do you support, football team? It's very important for our viewers to know.
Well, okay, for the American viewers, we're talking about soccer, obviously.
Yeah,
soccer. I support the mighty, overspending Chelsea.
I'm happy, because if you'd have said Spurs, I would have come off the call. And for our American viewers, just so that you know, my team, the mighty West Ham, hence Sean the Sheep there is wearing it, just got relegated down from the Premier League down to the Championship, and it was either us or Spurs, and it was us.
So there we go. So what you'll be witnessing now is the first half an hour of a grown man crying quite a lot as we go, some sort of therapy.
I actually use it when I travel the world. You know, you're away from your family and you're home a lot, which a lot of people don't realise. They think this is a very glamorous job. And for family people like me, it's a very tough job. And it keeps me grounded with home to listen to football or cricket. Or I used to travel with a World Service radio. I used to have the aerial all around the top of the tent in Africa. And I used to listen to that little sea jingle and the archers and all this great stuff. It made me really, really connect with home.
It is. I find myself sometimes listening to BBC Radio as well. And there's always for those of you who don't know, I'm going to leave a link in the description to a video where you can go and listen to the shipping forecast from BBC Radio.
Loved it. Oh my God, it was everything. Just before I went out on a game drive in Africa, in Kenya, it would always be on. So I would listen to it, and it was like German Bite and all these other names. Anyway, we're digressing. Hello, how are you doing?
We are digressing. Also, I've got a bit of a confession to make. Obviously, we've already started. The banter has already started, as you might expect when 2 Brits get on a call. But Andy and I had to confirm this with him just before we started recording, we've never met. So this is very much an opportunity for me and all of our viewers to meet this particular pro. So, Andy, very nice to meet you. I've known Andy for approximately half an hour now.
That's long enough.
That's enough. I know he supports West Ham. I know everything I need to know about him. So, Andy, like I said, your career spans probably nearly 3 decades. As I was doing my research, and believe it or not, I do some research for these things, I went on your website and I noticed an award-winning image from the mid-90s of a fox eating a garden gnome. So that means you are pushing, I think, 30 years now, isn't it? Rather than 25, I would say.
I think so. Well, I wasn't a pro then. I was actually a student. It was taken in my hometown of Basildon in Essex, and please don't laugh at that. But it was literally the first camera I got, the first thing I decided to do. I was taking pictures of fairgrounds, and I was a tennis coach, so I was doing the great Ivan Lendl. You might remember.
Oh, yeah.
I did some pictures of him. I did the Style Council in Concert, which is a group. And I did these local foxes that were visiting my friend's garden. And at one point, this fox started chewing the top of a garden gnome. I thought it was a good picture. BBC Wildlife Photographer of the Year came along competition. I thought, I'm just some long-haired permed oik. I'll enter it. And it managed to win the humorous views category, which is hilarious because I went along to this big do in London, with all of, David Attenborough was there, all my heroes were there. Jonathan Scott won it, iconic Jonathan Scott. And there's this long-haired oiker from Basildon with a picture of a fox. I literally had a suit that didn't fit. I mean, it was just a student. It was just awful.
I think that is amazing. Well, there we go. What a way to start. This is obviously going to kick you off onto the career that you have had, a most extraordinary career. I mean, spanning 3 decades as well, which we will touch on as we go through this. I do ask this question at the top of the show from everybody. I mean, with 30 years, it's very difficult to choose 4 images from your back catalogue. How much time and pain did this give you?
Well, the thing is, if you ask me to do this in the next minute, I'd choose 4 different images. But I think it's always a good thing to look back on what you've shot. Particularly, I tell any of my club members that in the last year, have a look back at Christmas at what you've shot in the last year, make a little book of it or do something, just so you remember what you've done and how far you've come in that year. And it's really nice to, I look back at the start of my career. Certainly, see there's a polar bear behind me, right? But I look back at some of the first polar bear images I shot and I think, why did you do that? Why did you use a 600? Why didn't you use a wider angle? I always think it's good to look at your images. So this has been a really interesting process where I sat down literally yesterday and thought, right, what am I going to talk about? What have we got some stories that are interesting to, people, and we can pass on some info that maybe they can use in their photography too.
Well, there we go. So it sounds like you've completely nailed the brief. So
That's
thank you very much. Well done.
You might not like the images yet. So.
Well, let's. I haven't seen them for long enough, but they're all news to me as well. Okay, Andy, let's start with your first image. Please tell the viewers and listeners about this image. Where was it taken? What's going on here?
So this is an image of 2 tigers fighting, 2 subadult, 18-month-old fighting. It's not a play fight. It's a serious fight. You can see the claws are out there. The teeth are out. The female cub is at the back. She's the aggressive one. The male one was kind of mind his own business. Female came along, whack, whack, whack. And they're fighting over some kind of dominance because they want to establish a little bit of territory there. The mother's going to kick them out. The male will stay longer, the one on the right there. But the female here, she's superb. She's the first one to go. And she wants a bit of the territory. So she's kind of establishing some kind of hierarchy there. Now, I've been photographing tigers for the best part of 20 years. You can see my favourite tiger here is Noor, a female who I did for 4 years. These are taken in Ranthambore in India. I've got literally thousands of tiger pictures I could choose, but I chose this one because it won me British Photography Awards last year, which was really, really great and really amazing to win, any award. I've been lucky enough to win quite a few in my career, but the ones when you win means an awful lot. But it was also rare to get the tigers actually fighting so that I could see the faces, so there wasn't anything in the way, and I didn't mess it up.
No, you certainly didn't mess it up at all. I think it is perfect timing as well. The fact that the female's face is almost completely fully visible through the gap between the left paw and the head as well. I must imagine there are quite a few frames, and is this the one that got right in the middle?
It was interesting because I'd just been using a new camera system. I just changed from Olympus to Sony, and I was literally on a brand new system. So using it at that point and to get this sequence and to nail it with a sharp head, for me, it was a big achievement. It proved that, you spend time setting your camera up and getting to know it. And then you have to be ready, because wildlife photography is not just about the gear. You've got to understand the animals. You've got to be able to react to the moment. And I could see from experience what was going to happen here. And it's not just me in the Jeep. I've got 3 clients paying on a holiday of a lifetime with me who I have to make sure are going to get this picture first. So they have to shoot first. So all the time I could see her. I could see her body language, the way she was with her head down, ears back. She was walking purposely towards this male. And I said to them, look, this is going to happen. There's probably going to be a big fight. Don't zoom in too close. Give it plenty of space. Whack your shutter speeds up. You want at least 0.002 of a second. Get your fastest motor drive on. No talking. Get ready. But don't go in too close. Make sure you shoot nice and wide and let's go. And it was silent. And she came in. The noise, I wish I'd have shot a video. The noise was, just amazing of them fighting. Incredible. And it's literally, that was it.
Done.
It was so fast. But that, with the paws out, I kind of wish, in some parts of me, in another dimension, I wish that, the 2 of them were sides, so I could see them with the paws out. But if I'd have done that, you wouldn't have seen the female's face and the sheer aggression on it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And obviously you've got a very deep depth of field here as well, because you've got both animals, which are bloody big animals, And how far away are you shooting this as well?
I'm probably about 50 meters, to be honest, because I want to retain a distance where always, I could be closer, but I don't want to be closer because then the tigers react to me. I don't want the tigers to react to me. I want the tigers to react to them because I'm a guest in there, right? I'm just this annoying balding muppet with a camera who takes a picture of them. They're in their home. And always I want them to react and give us some natural behaviour because I think the pictures are much better if they do that.
Are you shooting on 200 mil at this point, are you?
I think so. I can't remember, but it would have been somewhere in the range. Yeah. I mean, I'm not shooting at 600 ever because I crop 99.9% of my pictures in post. And whether it's from that to that, it doesn't matter. I don't crop them to postage stamps, but I will always do some creative cropping. And I prefer to shoot wider and crop later. And of course, everyone's obsessed with putting bigger lenses and converters on. I use cropping. It's a new concept. It probably won't catch on, right? But I use it because it's my way.
Well, I think it's perfect because you can't uncrop from a tight image. And well, I suppose actually there's all sorts of tools that you probably can now, but it's going to be a bit squirrely on the edges.
I can't because I publish. My big thing about being a pro is that I publish my work still to newspapers, magazines, calendars, whatever. And I've still retained my complete editorial background at what I can and cannot do, limited to basic corrections, colour, some retouching, but nothing else. I just can't do anything else to my images because it would be found out and it would also be lying. So,
well, absolutely. So the reason we reached out to you actually is we have a very good friend of ours, Riaz Kader, who will have been on an episode before you, who is a fantastic photographic guide in Sri Lanka and recommended you as his guest photographer as well. So if you ever want to go, he's an open invitation. I don't know, have you been to Sri Lanka?
Many times, actually. Many times. Yeah.
Well, next time you go there, look him up and buy him a beer. And how many times do you go? India, you do a lot. You say you do a lot of East Africa. You do a lot of India. I notice also you do some trips to other places like Finland.
Antarctica, Finland, Ecuador. I mean, really, I go where I enjoy. Of course, tigers have been a passion. For me, my best friend was Dickie Singh, who sadly passed away. He was a fellow tiger photographer with me. I used to stay with him. I went to Ranthambore with him the first time in 2008. So for me, it was very much a family experience going there as well and a fun experience. And all of my trips I do have that same mindset. It's probably why I've never shot for any of the major magazines or publications because I'm not a loner. I like being around people. I like sharing experiences and I like just having fun when I shoot. And that's, India I used to do 4 times a year. I don't do it as much now. I've done 1 trip this year. I may do 1 next year. I may not. It just depends.
And how are you finding the experience of India as well? I mean, as with lots of places on safaris as well, you must have lots of experience and know all of the little secret places to go to as well, away from the crowds.
So does everyone else, unfortunately. So do all the, in Ranthambore, I used to know every corner of it, but of course there's lots of rules there now. So you can't jump the zones. You're restricted to one zone. So my job is prediction. I have the best guide team there is, which I rely on. I have the best guides I can use anywhere in the world. So I'm not so arrogant as to go to Kenya and say I'm the best guide because my guy next to me was born there. He's got better eyes than me. I just apply the photographic side to their knowledge. And it's the same with tigers. I have a great team there. But now I've kind of left Ranthambore a bit behind for a couple of years. It's got a bit busy and it goes in peaks and troughs. When there's a tigress with good cubs, 12 to 18 months old, there's a lot of activity, okay, if they're in one of the main zones, and you can get a lot of good pictures. But I've been other times when I've done 14 drives and I've got 12 blanks, no tigers. And it's fine for me, although I get morose, but my clients, it's not fine because you're with people on a holiday of a lifetime and Ranthambore doesn't have a lot else to see. So I've started to go to other places in India where if you fail on tigers, you've got sloth bears, you've got beautiful birds, you've got wild dogs, which are always fantastic value to see. So I've tried to always ensure that I don't go after a single animal or species now because I've had some failures and it feels horrible. You know yourself. It just feels horrible.
Well, absolutely. I mean, this is always the case, isn't it? When you sell a trip which is based on a particular sighting or anything like that, you really are setting yourself up for a fall. It's not too dissimilar now with the migration, which is proving in Kenya absolutely impossible to predict.
I don't do it now. I used to do it in the past. Now, it's not only the prediction, it's the behaviour of all the vehicles, the amount of vehicles that there are. It's got chaotic. You know, I can fight with the best of them, right? And I will fight. I'm used to in India having to fight with loads of vehicles to get at the front. Part of me enjoys it, and part of me doesn't, because I'd rather just be me alone with the animal. But these days, it's hard to do that. So I think, I mean, India, you just have to work with the chaos that you're given. I do a lot of Indian leopards. I really enjoy Indian leopards. I'm doing a lot more now, just leopard-only trips in India. But you've got to go with the mindset that it's not like an African leopard that's going to sit next to you and go, look at me, how beautiful I am with my whiskers. It's all great. You can use your 7200. You're on a 600, you know, most, if not all of the time, and you're taking leopard in habitat. And that's a different mindset. But I enjoy it because it's challenging and it's also really relaxing. It's really relaxing to do it.
Absolutely. And I think that, I get it when people are on that trip of a lifetime. This may be the only time that they go to India, and they put a lot of pressure on themselves. The relief that you have when you see a tiger on day one and you're like, well, there we go. We're all good now.
Beer, gin, vodka, other alcoholic beverages are available. This is water, by the way. But it is a relief, because then you can really, you know, the pressure is gone. And with your clients, you can help them more with their photography, because they're not stressed about getting things. You know, they're more receptive to saying, right, take the shutter speed down to a 15th and let's blur it. Oh, I can't do that. It's my first time I've seen a tiger. Well, if you've got some good tiger pictures or other animals, you know, in the can already, then you can encourage people to be creative and push themselves. And I like that fact.
Very good. Yes, perfect. Okay, we are going to move on to your second image, which is a highly original image. Tell me about this one.
This is a spectacled bear in the cloud forest, Ecuador, and it just won me a prestigious competition, Asferico Mammals Competition 2026. And Asferico is a competition that all the pros really want to do well in, because it's a very artistic competition based in Italy. And my natural style has never been quite artistic. It's because I've been an editorial and publishing photographer. I'm not naturally an artistic guy, because, you know, those pictures never really sold, and I kind of pushed away that side of my personality. But now I'm really bringing it out. And with that, I'm shooting more habitat. I'm shooting more wide angles. And it's also been a change of equipment. I now shoot with a 300 2.8 as my main lens, which I love because it weighs nothing. It's tiny. The quality is phenomenal, and it forces me to shoot wider. It forces me to think about composition. So even though this is a bullseye, boom, right in the middle of the frame, British viewers will remember the awful Bullseye series with a wad of, do you remember that? And they used to say, here's your prize. It was a great big wad of like £10 notes. You just give it over to someone. Anyway, but it's right in the middle.
This is becoming a very British episode.
Well,
we're going to alienate.
American viewers can look up Bullseye in just admiration of a classic piece of TV.
I'll leave a link. There'll be something on YouTube.
But anyway, so this to win a competition for me like this, you know, it's always great to win. I've won, I think, 35 or 36 awards now in my career. And for this, to win Asferico, which has just been announced literally a week ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It meant a lot, because we went through a lot to get this, you know. I'm not going to go into the detail of it too much, but it was one hell of a climb down and one hell of a climb up with no guarantee of success. This was ISO something like 16 to 20,000. Because it was pretty much in the dark. And you've got to be exceptionally still, because these things, you know, spectacle bears do not like us one bit. They leg it for the horizon. And it's a long-term project I've been doing in Ecuador. And I have tried to get spectacle bears so many times. I've been up to 14,000 feet in the mists trying to get them. And I've been tracking them across the landscape. And I've got things like vegetation that's been recently eaten within the last hour. And you think, brilliant, I'm close. You just can't get close. So for this to happen, this beautiful wide angle in a beautiful setting was great. The annoying thing was she had a cub, and the cub was just above her, asleep in the tree. And not once, I just dreamt of this picture where you had the cub putting its head out on her. Oh, it would have been, and it didn't do it once. He just slept the whole time she was in the tree. But, you know.
You can't look a gift horse in the mouth when this happens for you. I'm afraid you can't do too much.
No, people look at this and say, oh, it's a very easy portrait shot. It's not, because it's very easy to muck this up because you think it's an easy portrait shot, because there's this obsession of closer, 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 you know, where you think, oh, I've got to put the teleconverter on. I've got to use the big lens. And I actually shot a lot wider than this. The original is slightly wider than this. I actually prefer it, but I like the composition of the corners. I always look at corners in my images, and I like the composition of the corners here, so I cropped it in just a little bit for the competition. But most of the pictures I shot were wider, and, you know, putting them on my wall, like the one behind, you'll see, you know, this is a wide of a polar bear. I would put always wide pictures on my wall.
I just want to touch base on something you just said now, which I was thinking about just the other day, which is you don't regard yourself as being a very artistic person. I too, I'm not an artistic person. With enough practice and maybe forcing yourself into situations like this, do you think you are able to rewire your brain to think more artistically, or are we just like, we're either scientific or artistic, and a few people sit in the middle of that Venn diagram?
I think few people sit in the middle of the Venn diagram. I think that's 100% true. But it is possible, but you've got to realise why you want to do the creative pictures. Do you want to do them to follow everyone else as a fad and a trend and a hashtag? No. Do you want to do them because you feel it's the right thing to do? I find that most photographers are scared of trying it because photographers are scared of failure. I am not scared to fail. I'm prepared. I'm a West Ham fan. I am prepared for failure. I'm completely prepared for failure. But in order to succeed, you have to be prepared to fail. And when you do artistic stuff, not this so much, but one you're going to see, I think, in a minute, you have to be prepared to get it wrong, to get it very, very right. And I think it's a way that you persuade and inspire. You know, I think my job as a pro photographer, I don't look at myself as a creator, but as a photographer, is to inspire others to look at that and think, he's just a cockney, right? He's nothing special. He's pushed himself. I can do the same. And I would love to think, I have, as you know, an online club called Wild Bunch, and I constantly am inspiring my members to push themselves just a little bit harder in what they do, you know, with processing or with whatever. And I'm seeing the results. And for me, the most inspiring thing that I get to see is my members' pictures in the competitions. They make me want to take my pictures because I see what it means to them to be inspired. And it's a big thing. And I think that's our role as photography leaders.
Absolutely. It takes great pleasure that I derive from it when I watch a client who may be completely new. You know, at Pangolin, we will supply the cameras to you if you don't have a camera, so you can have a go.
That's very good. I've seen that. You can supply them to me, by the way, if you want. I'll give you my postal address.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll send it to you ad infinitum. It's a Canon, please. Though, so I'm not sure you want it anymore. But,
I know how to use it.
Oh, just take it anyway. But it's amazing watching somebody, the expression on their face change when they play back on the back screen of their camera, the LCD, and they see the first shot, they go, this is it. I found my hobby. So, you mentioned all these places that you're traveling to as well. How much time are you traveling? Do you travel for yourself for these projects? And how much of it is leading groups as well?
So this was a self-project. We had a companion voucher from British Airways, you know, for travelling so much. And we wanted to go back to Ecuador. We always take clients to Ecuador. We wanted to go just to work with our friend and guide there, Luis, and just do some different things. You know, some challenging things that you wouldn't do with clients because you wouldn't want them to fail. But most of the time now in the economy that we're in, I don't do so much foreign photography by myself, foreign as in outside the UK, just because of the enormous cost of it. And it's difficult for me to justify those costs against my successful hair transplant operations that you can see, which obviously it's a work in progress. But seriously, it is something I'm trying to do more of, where I do my own trips. So I'm doing one this year in July, going to Africa by myself with my wife. And next year we're probably going to do a couple of other trips as well, to things I want to do.
Are you coming through Botswana?
No, I leave that to you guys. I'm not. I've been to Botswana. I made a TV series in Botswana, but these days I believe you should stick to where you know inside out. So I very much stick to Kenya because I know Kenya inside out. So I just stick to these places where I know I can do well.
Well, if you change your mind, there's an open invitation not to bring clients. Just come and hang out and come and take some photographs.
Totally. I'll do that. Yeah, I'll do that.
I think everybody believes that we who work in the photo safari industry spend our entire time just swanning around these exotic locations and having lots of time to photograph. And it's so rare.
I mean, I'm very lucky that my clients want me to take pictures. I don't have the kind of clients that get annoyed if I take a picture. As long as I'm not taking a picture first, if I'm not taking it, people are like, well, that means it's not good.
Yes.
So we want to see your pictures. We want to see your process. We want to see what you take compared to us. And so, because I'm positioning the vehicle, of course, for the door behind me where everyone else is, that still doesn't mean that I won't get something that I want, you know. So I don't feel the need so much to go on my own trips. And as I say, I've got a family. I've got a business to run. So I have to think about normal family life and where my money goes.
Absolutely. On that note, I think we are going to take a break. If you'd like this content and you want to see more of it, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. Give us a thumbs up. Say hello in the comments. I'm sure that Andy will try and jump in and say hello if he's around as well. And also, if you would like to be notified of all the other content we're producing, you can sign up for our world-famous Friday Focus newsletter. There'll be a link in the description down below, which you can do so, and we'll let you know when these episodes are coming out. So we're going to take a break, and when we're back, we're going to discuss Andy's third image. We'll see you in a minute. Welcome back to part 2 of the Pangolin Podcast with my guest today, British wildlife photographer Andy Rouse, who, as you all know by now, we are meeting for the first time. We're doing his best Usain Bolt.
Usain Bolt, I love him. He was great.
Usain Bolt is an extraordinary human being. Okay, Andy, we are now going to move on to your third image, please. We'd like to tell the viewers and listeners about this one.
A completely different focus from the previous ones. This is a roe deer, so taken locally here, very atmospheric. People ask you a lot, I don't know if they ask you, what's your signature style? Well, my signature style is atmosphere, raking light, backlight, side light. It's what I'm known for. Unfortunately, I can't publish it much because it doesn't sell, but I still take it as my preferred style. And for this image, taken locally, means everything to me because I am a roe deer stalker. I love roe deer. They are the ultimate one-on-one fieldcraft challenge. It doesn't matter what kit you have. It doesn't matter what car you drive. It doesn't matter what job you have. To them, it's just fieldcraft that matters, and your appreciation of the world around you, how you fit into that world, and how they perceive you. And all of these things come together to allow me to get... These are all wild shots. They're not from a hide. They're stalking. They're just using my expertise. I never know what I'm going to do when I go out in the morning when I do it. It's always different, and it's kept me interested in roe deer for 25 years.
It's a really, really lovely photograph. I was watching some of your videos as well, and I think this is a shot from one of those videos. And
you're the one. I saw your light. You're the one. You're the one viewer I've got.
I am the viewer. I am the viewer. It's lovely to meet you.
You can have a free hat. Look, I've got a free Andy Rouse hat here. I'm going to send you it. I'm going to send you it in the post.
There we go. I shall wear it every time I watch one of your videos in honour. Firstly, I'm in absolute admiration of your collection of camouflage gear and ghillie suits and things like that. You must have an entire wardrobe dedicated to your fieldcraft gear. Because they're not unbulky, are they?
Well, I've got various ones. I mean, it's unseasonably warm outside in the UK now. It's 28, 30 degrees. So I've got a very light ghillie I wear over the top. But sometimes I just don't wear a ghillie. I shoot from the shadows. I was always taught to shoot from the shadows. And so I shoot from inside a forest out a lot so that you can't be perceived. You use the shadows to hide your human-shaped form. With deer, the biggest thing is you have to hide your smell. They are irritating in that they can smell you. They're also irritating in the fact that if they smell you, they tell everyone else within a mile that you're there, and everyone else is on alert, and you might as well just go home and have a sausage sandwich. So I was in a hide this week. I literally went out and sat in a hide for a fox, right? It was an hour before sunrise. I got up like 3:30 in the morning, got out, I was stepping into the hide, bark behind me, bark in front of me of a roe deer. One saw me, one smelt me. Fox is not going to come anywhere near you because they know there's a human around. That's it. An hour before sunrise and you're finished.
And you finished an early sausage sandwich then, isn't it?
I go and do hares because they're quite stupid. So, but for me, this image, this is Dave. There's a roebuck I've called Dave. In fact, my Facebook followers called it Dave. I've seen him since he was young, since he was a youngster. Now, I don't see many youngsters where I am because they go into the fields. The wheat is quite high. So I don't really see them first off. But I saw him in his first year. And I've watched him. This is now his third year. He's got reasonable antlers. He's still following around his mum. And I know the area where they are. And I look on the ground and I know where the deer trails are. You know, the pattern of their behaviour is they feed in the morning and then they move back into the shade by about 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. So I know this. And so I can sit on one of their patterns if I've seen them far out in the field, get low, crawl along, sit there and just wait. Not so that I'm blocking their path, but so at some point they come towards me in the angle. And that's what I was doing here in the shadows. 200, 600 this one was. I don't make any movement when they see me, you know, because they are kind of looking at me here. He's probably not seen me at this point. He did see me later on, but he's not seen me or smelt me. And I want that natural behaviour. But here, for me, it's the raking light that's, you know, it was amazing on one side of him. So I darkened the exposure off by 3 stops to get rid of the background. And I'm not a person that does anything about shadows. You can tell I've not got a light. I've got a window here, but nothing here. I like shadows because shadows give detail and they give atmosphere and emotion and feeling to a picture. So I never brighten shadows. In fact, I actively darken shadows like you see here.
We do that all the time. As soon as you get somebody used to, especially new to the cameras or they're just getting started, but playing with exposure compensation in scenes like this dramatically change an image and the way you take a photograph. And like you say, most people have been taught textbook photography, got to be perfectly exposed, got to be perfectly sharp and things like that. And then when you take somebody like that and say, right, push it, -3, they're like, I'm sorry, I don't even know what that dial does. I'm not doing that. That's not going to... I'm not doing that one again. Just do it. You'll like it. But then again, you have that light bulb moment because now it's, if this was not 3 stops underexposed, it would just be a deer in a field. Now this tells a completely different story.
And I saw it, I'm there by myself. So you asked about whether I do stuff by myself. This is my passion. I would never take anyone here. Elon Musk comes to me and says, here's 25 billion. Will you take me radio stalking? No, believe it or not, because it's mine. It's what I do, right? And it's my mental health thing. It's my challenge to myself. And it makes me feel better than anything else I do, literally. Even my dancing to ABBA, even though I'm good at that, I am much better at rodeo photography. And, I was elated when I came back after this encounter. It probably took half an hour for him to weave his way towards me. But to watch an animal doing what it does without it knowing you're there, to a certain point, of course, deer will always find out that you're there in the end, is amazing. He actually came close enough. I started to zoom back. I took some wide angles. It didn't really work very well. But as soon as he became alert, you can tell they just become alert. The nose comes up. You think, okay, they can obviously smell me, or they just sense that you're there. At that point, I know he's going to run, okay? So I've got 2 buttons programmed on the camera. I will always tell people to program buttons on your camera. I've got the 1 button for speed boost, which takes the camera up to 30 a second. And I've got 1 for pre or pro capture, which, as you know, as a wildlife photographer, is a godsend to have pre or pro capture on your camera. I will activate both of those immediately, zoom back, bang the ISO. I actually chuck the shutter speed right up to about 2,500, and I will wait for him then to go. That all comes from experience, and that all comes from going the same animal, the same days, just keep doing it repeatedly. You know what they're going to do. And fieldcraft is a vital thing of, even when I'm in Africa, everything I do is based on fieldcraft.
That's a very important lesson for people. We had Simon D'Entremont on the show, and he said it's very important, I'm going to get this wrong, to take interesting photos of uninteresting subjects. People in Europe bemoan the fact that they don't have lions, they don't have leopards, they don't have anything. But if you are disciplined enough to continuously work a subject and then just forcing yourself to think creatively, how else can I photograph this one subject? I think that on its own answers the question that we had before, which is, by doing so, can you rewire your brain to start thinking about subjects in different ways and think about more creative techniques?
If you want to do it. And that's the thing. Some people don't have the time to do this. Yeah. Some people don't have the skill to do this. Let's be honest about it. They don't. But I think you've got to be able to want to do it. And a lot of people don't want to photograph blue tits in the garden. I've got blue tits in the garden here. A lot of people think, it's too common. I can tell you at my agency, my blue tit pictures and goldfinches have sold more than any lion has. Because people don't bother with the common. And the common is the hardest to photograph, because you don't generally have the nice light. You don't generally have the wow factor. You've got to use your photography, composition and lighting skills to take something that people go, actually, that's really nice. I mean, one of my best-selling pictures ever was a robin in snow.
There you go, Christmas,
Daily Mail, page 3. I got thousands for it.
Do you still make money from stock photography these days?
Yeah, it's a big thing for me. I don't think you have any right to call yourself a professional photographer if you don't make money from selling pictures. I think you can be a professional tour guide, right? But I do not want to call myself a professional tour guide. I'm an unprofessional tour guide. But I want to call myself a professional photographer because it means everything to me. So I need to still publish for myself. I love seeing front covers or something that I've done. BBC Wildlife or any of these other big magazines. I love seeing my work published because it means that all of my work has a value to someone else, and someone is appreciating and looking at that picture and think, God, that's beautiful, that's really nice. And the next time somebody says, look, can you give me a £10 donation for this conserve the roe deer, we want to conserve the habitat, they'll be more likely to do it because they've seen a great picture of it maybe that I've done. And for me, that's a really good reason to continue being published, apart from paying for the hair transplant that clearly doesn't work.
The hair transplant, which is any minute now, is going to kick off.
No, it's there. I just haven't stuck it on yet. Yeah.
Okay. I think there is something to be said about that as well. In this day of fast social media, images everywhere, images of dubious origin, images which have been so over-edited, I think that we're coming back to a time where the published images in magazines which have had editorial supervision, it's coming back. There is a greater value. For a long period, there was no real value perceived to be stock imagery because there was so much imagery around the place. But I think we're coming back. I also think, and I'm delighted that you have an online community club, because I think that's the way that social media is going to go back as well. I think we're going back to the day of almost going back to photography forums where people engage, because there is nothing social about social media anymore.
Oh my God, I cannot compete with flicky-haired 30-year-old influencers that have, they get loads of views for picking up a camera with a lame expression and then they're showing pictures after it. I can't compete with that because I won't do it. I think my photography should be good enough just to show it. I mean, I had to learn how to do a reel this week. I mean, my wife has put me on TikTok. I mean, my Lord, but we're trying to do that to try and attract a slightly younger audience. But I don't know anything about it, and I'd rather just show my work. I'm an old fossil, right? I would rather just show my pictures, inspire people a bit for the wildlife and the photography, and brilliant. I do that on Instagram, and I get about 3.5 likes. And yet I see these other people where the pictures aren't anywhere near as creative or good get 25,000 likes.
Yeah, we could probably wax it. We could do a whole episode about this.
Get me on separately and I'll just rant for an hour.
We'll just have a bit of group therapy, just a very small group of two having a good old moan. Okay, we are going to move on to your final image. Now, this really caught my eye. Okay, tell us about this one.
So I've been working with a black leopard in Kenya called Giza, which you will know very well. Of course, lots of pictures done of Giza, and I've tried to do pictures that are very different, because when you've got a lot of very competent photographers shooting something really beautiful and really good, there's an awful lot of good pictures out there. It's not like in the early days of my photography where I was competing against a few of the world's pros. You're competing against a lot of people now to have your image different. So it means that I've pushed my creativity. So this is a black leopard called Giza, photographed at night, and it's not processed, okay? The original looks like this because this is a red torch. They do a really good job at night there in Laikipia of making sure that when they go to hunting, it's not your torch that's on her, because that would blind her and show her. It's a torch from another vehicle that lights her up. So it works really well. So this is a red torch from another vehicle. And initially I thought, I'll change the white balance. But you know what? I really liked it. It was something special. Now, let me give you the numbers here, because some of your viewers will be amazed. ISO, are you ready?
Yeah.
51,200.
Wow.
F22, 15th of a second. So 15th of a second panning to get the blur. F22 to get 15th of a second, obviously, and then ISO 51,200. That shows you the borderline limits that I was actually on to get that picture. Of course, software like DxO gets rid of the noise, and this isn't a detail image. I think people are too obsessed with zooming in and looking at noise and clean backgrounds. Do you know, I don't remove the noise on my pictures. I leave them generally, unless it's over ISO 6000 or something like that. I leave it as it is because I like it. I'm from the old film days where when we scanned the picture, we had join the dots noise. So I like it. But this picture is creative. It's got some atmosphere. And as soon as I took it on the back of the camera, my guide next to me, Patrick, he was like, oh my God, I have seen millions of pictures of her and I've never seen that. And the good thing is I show it. Everyone's like, show me, show me. So I'm showing it. Right, okay, that's the 15th of a second that I've told you all to set. I've told you all to do that. This is what you're going to get. So I know you're getting failures. I know you're thinking of changing it. Don't. Carry on. And I push people by just showing them pictures. And for me, this picture just tells me a lot about my photography the way it is today, the way I'm not afraid to get it wrong.
No, I think we've talked about it previously on the show. It's the punctum, which is the unexpected part of the image that you really don't see it initially, but then you cotton onto it. But then when you've seen it, you can't unsee it. And for me, in this image, it's what's happening with the eye.
The eye, I've got two images, one of which hasn't got the eye. It's got a better leg position, much better leg position, but it doesn't have the eye. And people say, oh, you put the eye in. Well, all I can tell you is it's done okay in competitions, So the eye is not put in, the eye is there in the raw.
And they've got the raw image to prove it. But so is the light coming from the side into the face of the leopard?
I don't know how. It may have reflected off of another Jeep. I've got no idea. I mean, there's so many things about this image when I look at it. But here's a point I want to talk about. You know, I also know that when I put these images out on social media, I get slated.
Yeah.
There's a whole core of people that want to slate me these days. And as a photographer, you do suffer from, you know, you're not such thick-skinned. You know, I have had my mental health issues. I'm an advocate for mental health and for looking after yourself. When I put images like this now on platforms like X and others, I don't look at the comments because I am confident that the image that I've taken is a good one. I love the image. I'm happy with it. I don't need someone to tell me that they don't like it, they don't understand it. I put it on there to inspire people, and I don't need to see the people. I call them oxygen thieves because they're thieving the good oxygen around. I don't need to see those comments that are negative that can bring me down, and they do. People don't realise there's a human at the end of this, a dad, a husband, whatever, at the end of this that will take it to heart. And it, you know, in the old days, I remember before COVID, I was really struggling with mental health. I couldn't go out because I didn't think my photography was any good. I gave up doing theatre shows because of the enormous online trolling that I just received for some of my images because I wanted to be different. And it really affected me a lot. And since then, I've been a big advocate for mental health. You look after yourself. You do things that make you happy. I mean, we were talking about Lego in the break, right? I'm a big Lego guy. I've got a Lego Concorde here. I've got a Lancaster downstairs, HMS Endurance. I love building Lego because it makes me sit down and do something for me. You know what it's like in the travel business? There's always something to do, always an email to send or arrangement to make. There's always business. It makes me take myself away, and that's great. And that's why I'm such a big family guy as well. Most important thing in my life is my family, right? You see my pictures here on my desk. People say, what pictures you got on your desk? There you are, my family. I've got my daughter's scrawlings there and my paintings. For me, family is everything. And I've decided that whilst photography is great and it's what I love, okay, it's my lifestyle, my priority in my life is my family always. And that is keeping me sane in a very difficult business.
What would be your guidelines for somebody who wants to offer constructive criticism or critique of an image?
First of all, you didn't take it. You've got to realise that just because you didn't like it, that's not the photographer's point of view. The photographer took an image that they wanted to match for something they were doing, let's say. So it's their creative point of view. So you can offer a constructively, nicely worded criticism. It's not criticism. It's like, if I took this image, I would. There are ways of being decent and nice without saying, that's rubbish. Yeah. No, you didn't get that good. It ain't no good. But, you know, I get all of these comments. And I think if you're going to do a critique, just remember there's a human at the end who gets hurt. So be gentle and decent. And if you don't have to say anything, don't say it.
Brilliant. On that note, we're going to take our final break. And when we come back, Andy's going to share with us an image taken by another photographer. But what I will also do, all of the content Andy has, his social media following, it's called The Wild Bunch. Is it Patreon?
Yeah. Yeah, Patreon.
Yeah. I'm going to leave links to that as well. If you'd like to go and join Andy's club, then
he's earned his free cap.
And that's my free cap. Thank you very much.
Yours. That's yours. Yeah.
This is what I get paid in caps. For those of us who haven't had the transplant yet, it's very important to have a cap. Okay, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to go into the fifth image. So we'll see you in a minute. Welcome back to part 3 of the Pangolin Podcast with my guest today, UK photographer Andy Rouse. Right, Andy, this is the moment somebody else has been waiting for as you reveal the image that you wish you maybe had taken yourself. Big drum roll.
I've got an ocarina I could play. I'm learning. Okay, I'm learning. All right, I'm learning.
That's a Pangolin Podcast first. Somebody who brought their own music. Okay, so you're going to tell us who took this photograph, where did they take, why did you choose it?
So Sergey Gorshkov, apologies Sergey if I pronounce your name wrong. I have been astounded by his work for a long time. When he won the Wildlife Photographer of the Year, which was during COVID, it was so overdue. His work on camera traps, particularly of tigers in Siberia. You know, most Siberian tiger pictures are captive, let's be honest, they are. They're taken in an enclosure in Vladivostok. His are just tremendous. I don't do camera traps, not interested, don't understand it. His dedication and his skill is great. This is not a camera trap. It's an amazing elephant image in a forest, backlit, setting sun, beautiful colour tones, beautiful palette, and the elephant is doing something, reaching up to feed in the tree. I saw this image published on social media, and it's in Zambia, I think. And I wrote to him with just a list of expletives because I know him quite well. And he knows what I will mean by that because every photographer wants to take this. It's exceptional composition. And I saw it. And when I wrote to him, I said, right, I'm not going to enter the Wildlife Photography of the Year this year because you are a shoe-in winner. This image must win. And of course, the Rouse kiss of death, it didn't win. And I was fuming, not for my images. They don't like me in that competition. But that competition, this should have won. It's just an astounding picture from a very, very astounding photographer and a very nice guy.
It's an absolutely stunning image, and it's just that light coming through the trees.
It's a very pure image, you know. It triggers the emotion. And as a photographer, you do think a load of expletives when you see it because you want to take that. I want to take that picture because it's so amazing. But I want to see that picture. I just want to be there and see it. Incredible.
It's funny, actually, you mentioned camera trapping. We just released the video now with Wim van den Heerve, who won this year's Wildlife Photographer of the Year with his brown hyena, which was also a camera trap photograph. Yeah. And even in our comments from the video, there were people jumping on going, that's not real photography. You're going to go, well, it is.
I'm not a fan of it in that for me, it's not my kind of photography, right? So I don't mind triggering something remotely, but I don't have the skill to set it up like that. And you have to understand your own skill set. I mean, me doing macro, never going to happen, right? So I don't understand it. It's not my skill set. There are some people who are fabulous at it. And there is no doubt that for some shy species, it's vital. Yeah. But for me, it misses the one thing that's vital about my photography, and that's engagement. I was there when I took it. I'm not interested in just taking a picture of something. I want to be there. I want to experience it. That's the whole thing about my photography. I just concentrate on what I do best. And for me, I want to see and experience it. That's me. That's just me.
Well, this is the premise of the show as well, is the fact that you are coming back to your humble dwelling, looking at these photographs on your wall, and it's supposed to be bringing back
here we go.
That memory. So, Andy, we're going to wrap it up. We're running out of time. Bella, the producer, is telling me that we've got lots and lots for her to edit. She's like, please, just stop now, stop. I feel that we could probably talk for a very long time, but I do suspect that we might waft into the realms of football and start losing our American viewers.
I'm happy to come back any time. I've enjoyed it very much.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. It's been delightful to meet you. I hope that one day I get to meet you on safari somewhere, in the not too distant future. It'd be fun to hang out. Now, before we go, you are allowed to choose where your humble dwelling is, where you're going to live and photograph in perpetuity. Where is that going to be?
It's going to be where the roe deer are in Wiltshire, because I don't want to live somewhere where my family isn't. And if I am really honest, my family is settled. I have to think practically. I would never uproot them to a tropical island. I would like to live in a tropical island where we have sand between our toes. It's not going to happen. So I'll probably live in rural Wiltshire, as a county in England, where the roe deer is taken. And I would do roe deer every day of my life. And my biggest ambition is that someone comes along and says, Andy, we want you to do a coffee table book on roe deer. I would give them your free hat if they said that.
No.
Other hats are available. I'd give them anything I could find in return for that roe deer book, because for me, it would mean anything.
There we go. Rural Wiltshire is a very, very beautiful part of the world. If you want to go see roe deer, go to Wiltshire. Andy, it's been an absolute joy getting to know you on this show. Thank you very much for making time to do it. I look forward to receiving my cap. I hope to see you on safari sometime soon. But until then, thank you very much indeed.
I've enjoyed it very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining me on another episode of the Pangolin Podcast. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. What a great chap. As always, we'd love to hear your comments and feedback, so please leave them down below. If you're an audio listener, we'd love it if you could give us a star rating or a quick review on your platform of choice. And if you don't want to miss the next episode or any of the other wildlife photography videos, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Finally, don't forget to sign up to the Pangolin Photo Safari's world-famous Friday Focus newsletter. You can do that by heading over to pangolinphoto.com, or you can scan the QR code on your screen now. I look forward to seeing you on a Pangolin Photo Safari soon, and all that is left for me to say is that the Pangolin Podcast was hosted by me, Toby Jermyn, and produced and edited by Bella Fogg. Thank you.